Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BroadBoys podcast. I'm Cade. This is Micah. And Micah, I got a question that I haven't asked you for a while. What have you even been playing recently?
Doing?
Or watching? Yeah, I don't need to hear about what you're doing. I don't care about that.
I told you earlier today that I haven't been doing much. But, correction, I had a thought.
Yeah.
I have been playing
Star Wars?
No, well, I did do that, but I'm talking about a mobile game.
Mobile game?
Yep. The Clash Royale.
Oh, a big Clash guy.
Well, it's been like, I don't have much time, so I just kind of,
You know that one.
I recognize it, but I play with my sound off.
Okay. I haven't played Clash Royale in years, but I know that guy.
That was really embarrassing.
That's the laugh. The king laughs.
Yes, he does. But I've been finding, don't have a lot of time. So, you're sitting on the toilet, you just play some Clash Royale.
Get some Clash Royale going.
Exactly.
Mobile gaming isn't beneath you. That's fine.
I mean, it feels beneath me, but it's okay. I'll mobile game a little.
There's nothing wrong with the mobile game.
I've been playing Clash Royale. I've been thinking about playing Hearthstone again. Just some things that I can do mobilely.
Okay. You really want the Hearthstone, I bet, don't you?
I really want the Hearthstone.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? It's the Hearthstone.
The Hearthstone.
There's a Hearthstone, right?
No, it's a card game.
Yeah, I know it's a card game, but there is a Hearthstone, right?
No.
Okay. I've never played.
Yeah, I can tell.
All right. Well, so you've just been mobile gaming.
Pretty much. Been playing some Transport Fever 2. I've been playing a little bit of League. I've been playing some Battlefront 2. When I got some people together to play it. We played a little bit.
Yeah. Bring Battlefront 3. That's what I think.
Someday.
Yeah. It won't be for a while.
It won't be, but
not for a while.
I will say it's definitely an extraordinarily enjoyable experience to play older games that are just genuinely good. Mm-hmm. I touched Battlefront 1 just a little bit as well, and just realizing that is such a good game. Like Battlefield 1. There we go.
Okay. I was going to say EA Battlefront 1 is not as good.
Battlefront 1. Battlefront 1 is kind of a bad game, but Battlefield 1, the World War I Battlefield game, it's just like Battlefield games so good before whatever 2042.
Yeah, 2042.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that around that time there was a lot of really impactful shooters, because Battlefield 1, like you said, like Battlefield 3 and 4 were like really impactful, but Battlefield 1 had like tons of hype around it, and Battlefield 3 and 4 were like was gaining the audience, and Battlefield 1 was like a blowout.
I'm surprised Battlefield 1's not dead.
Yeah. I mean, there's still people playing Battlefield
3. Yeah, so, I know, but
but the Battlefield 1 community is probably the larger of the two,
which is surprising.
Probably more than Battlefield 4 as well, I'd imagine. Though most of those fans have to get their own servers up. Yeah. But I remember Battlefront 2 specifically. I was there at launch. I was so excited for it, and the launch was just an absolute disaster. People did not like the game when it launched for a multitude of reasons. Big microtransactions.
Well, they got sued because of the microtransactions in the game.
Yeah, if only they kept that up instead of stopping it at Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Why? How come we haven't been suing more companies?
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. Epic is still in a lawsuit over Fortnite.
Yeah, I mean they've had to roll back a lot of stuff, like do the refund at no cost and all that, and you keep the skin too. So I don't know. I'm just saying. It's mostly EU pulling that, though.
It is.
Not a lot of America intervention, which sucks. But, if someone's doing it, they got to do it.
What politicians do you think are playing video games here in America?
I thought a couple politicians went on to Connor Eats Pants Fortnite Friday.
They did, but that does not mean they play video games.
That's true. That's true. I swear I saw one hit like a Fortnite trick shot or something.
Might have. I think it's like one of those things there's like, what are the kids into? And it's like, oh, this guy, Connor Eats Pants. He seems like the outlet.
Even if they don't play the games, they should care about what 50% of their youth is doing.
I completely agree.
So, I don't know why they need to be playing the games.
This isn't a commentary on American politics, but I don't think they care.
Yeah. So, we get to write off the EU's coattails when it comes to pro-consumer action, which is unfortunate. But hey, the FTC did block the Activision Xbox merger.
They did.
And aren't they still trying?
They're still trying.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Which is cool.
We will see. We will see. But yeah, you've been mobile gaming.
Mobile
That's
gaming.
good. When I was traveling, I bought Geometry Dash, and that game was crazy.
Wait,
in a good way.
You just bought Geometry
Yeah,
Dash? Like
yeah.
you played it for the first time?
I played like the first couple levels when I was a kid, but I never got into Geometry Dash.
Wow.
But there's a lot.
There is.
There's a lot for Geometry Dash.
There is, and it's custom maps and
that's
all
the thing.
sorts of
Surprising.
things.
That's a game like upheld by the community, like 100%. It's like insane. Like if you like rhythm games, even if you don't, just get Geometry Dash. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's an easy way to burn some travel time. What I've been playing, besides Geometry Dash, is Elden Ring Night Rain. You might have heard of it. A little game.
I've heard of it.
Little game retailing for $39.99.
Yep.
From our good friends at FromSoft.
Yep.
Now, before this game came out,
I had concerns.
had concerns.
Yeah.
Had concerns.
Have not played it yet either.
Have not played it. Would you, even though you haven't played it, the game's been out, do you still have concerns?
I've seen quite a few concerns at launch, but FromSoft was very willing immediately to remedy those concerns. And I think the community's given them a lot of grace because it is their first time trying to delve into this sort of like multiplayer thing.
Yeah.
And I found it incredibly heartwarming that the community was like, hey, you kind of released a multiplayer game without certain multiplayer features, like an easy ability to like invite friends or stuff like that. And they were like, you know what? You're right. We'll fix that. And I don't know if they've released those patches. I just remember seeing the actual like dev notes.
What I've been playing, I don't know what the console experience is like because I've been playing on PC.
Yep.
But the invite friend option is really smooth, at least through Steam. The game runs fine. There are some weird spots where I do get frame dips, but it's hard for me. It's hard to tell nowadays if that's my machine or the game.
Yeah.
Not that I play with the worst setup in the world, but it's like it's not the best. So again, I don't know if that's a game or me thing. And then I've been having a ton of fun. I have around 25, 30 hours in, which is a lot less than my friends have, to be honest. But I think it's like super, super good. As someone who played all of Elden Ring through the seamless co-op mod, it's like that, but I can do it anytime. It's replayable. It's roguelike, so you can just jump in with friends. You don't need to like be, I'm already halfway through with this friend. Sorry, I can't play with you.
What is the when you vibe the game, right?
Yeah.
What's the progression feel like?
Yeah. So let me break it down. The Night Rain cycle, right? So in Elden Ring Night Rain, there are 8 different characters. And these characters have different stat allocations, and they also have their own stories that you can fill out in the in between moments, and have personal missions in the actual game. So they got new lore, and they got new characters. Like there's a mage character, there's a tank character, stuff like that. They also have their own abilities, which is something that FromSoft hasn't really had, like character based abilities. It's all based on the weapon, and those still exist. There's still weapon skills. And so you choose your character. You Fortnite battle bus drop in with your spectral eagle, and then there's basically all these. You get a map that's random, but it's pretty. It has. It's not as random as you might think.
Okay.
And you get a lot of different points on the map. That's like, I know this point will give me an extra charge on my healing item, so I want to make sure I go there. Or this camp has a symbol next to it telling me it's going to give me a fire weapon once I clear it. And I know this boss is weak to fire. There's also a lot of different bosses that you go in choosing like, I'm going in to fight the Sentient Pest or the Dark Drift Knight.
So you get to pick the boss you're going to go fight.
Picking the boss you are pursuing. And then when you beat enough of those bosses, you get access to the final boss. I've beaten all the bosses. They're definitely the highlight of the game. But to get there, you got to go through a couple different cycles of like this ring closing in with the storm, like Fortnite.
Fortnite. Does it feel fulfilling the whole time? Because I know a lot of battle royale games have this sort of like mid-game slump. Do you feel that in Night Rain?
No, I wouldn't feel that. In fact, like the way I see it, like I jump into a game and you start at level 1, you can get up to level 15, and you kill enemies, you get runes, you level up.
Yep.
You can pursue bosses to get way more runes and level up more, but bosses are typically hard, and if you die, you can't get rezzed, but if you die and don't get rezzed, you lose a level, and so you have to go back and get your runes to get that level back, and then probably die again. Or you can pursue something else. So, early game is very rewarding because you're like, all right, typically what most people do is they find a church and they're like, I'm going to go to this church and I'm going to clear everything in the way. And then after, I think it's like 10, 12 minutes, the circle starts closing in on a singular point on the map. And so you go there and you fight the first like big boss, which gives you a bunch of souls, a big reward.
Night.
Yeah, you do the first night boss. And then you do day 2, and then day 2 would be, I guess, the mid game you're talking about. And typically at that point, you're powerful enough to be like, all right, I'm going to take on the like secret boss at the Capitol, or I'm going to go underground to fight a giant magma worm to get my starter, to get one of my weapons up to level 3.
Okay.
You know, something like that. So in the mid game, I would say is actually the most exciting because you have to make the biggest decision on I'm powerful enough to pursue anything I want on the map. So I need to choose wisely. Well, me and my 2 other companions need to choose wisely of, hey, what's the big thing we're pursuing for day 2?
Do you feel if you make the wrong decisions that it does sort of ruin your game? Like, do your decisions matter?
Yeah. So I would say, see, this is kind of up in the air between players. If you ask different players, they say like levels are the most important, or with the type of item and skill it has matters most, or you need to make sure you have the element that the boss is weak to. Nothing else matters. I would say there's truth to all of those. Like there's a lot of different strategies you can go to win. Like you could get like a not super great weapon, but be level 15 and suddenly can tank a lot more. And you're able to sustain yourself a lot longer than the boss and win. But then on the other hand, you know, you could be level 15 and have trash weapons and then not be able to do any damage and die anyway. So there's a balance of things and they're still working it out. But I would say the decisions definitely feel really good when you're like, oh, I did like this thing that took a lot of time, but I got a big reward out of it. And it feels devastating when it's like, oh, I went for this boss and I didn't have enough time and I lost. And so I lost a level and then I wasn't able to beat the boss because I was like going in at level 8 out of 15. So it's definitely, you can mess up. It does matter where you go, but typically I would say if you're just doing something and you do it well throughout the game, typically you'll be well prepared for the boss. Now the boss might take 2 or 3 runs to actually beat because of how hard it is, or you could be paired up with random people and they'll just beat the boss.
Is it still trios only?
Yeah, it's trios only. You can queue up with 2 people, and I believe they have said that they're making an option to just, you know,
duos.
to just do duos, because there already is scaling. Like if someone leaves, they scale all the enemies back down to 2 players. So they'll probably implement that soon. They're also adding new characters, potentially new maps. So there's going to be DLC. I'm wondering if it's going to be a live service game model, or if it's like, oh, if you get the deluxe edition.
It definitely feels like it's prepping to be a live service, but that's not necessarily a bad thing here, where the game is still complete regardless of new content.
Yeah, I would say like I would keep going back as every single update. With Monster Hunter I have, but there's been small updates where I'm like, oh, I'm going to wait. But Elden Ring, I'd be like, oh, new boss dropped, I'm going in.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Vermintide model, or the I'm really blanking on the new one that just came out, where those are horde shooters technically, but you drop in, you have a mission, you run the mission, you level up, and you know your character and stuff. And so, no, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of random events that you can get raided by a boss at some points, or like depending on the map you get, you might get a mountain map. You're like, oh, if I reach the top of the mountain, XYZ happens. Or a cave. There's like, oh, if I go to the bottom of the cave, this happens.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of replayability, which is good for a rogue. And then the classes feel really different. Like a class can technically use any weapon. Yeah. But with their abilities, you know, and their play styles,
there are certain ones you want to use.
Yeah. Not that, I mean, people have done everything. Yeah. So, you know, they've run the craziest builds. But for the most part, you kind of get the vibe of what they're going for. So I'd recommend, especially for, I wouldn't say it's like, how should I say? It's not like revolutionary, and I'm sure you would have known that if it was, because the conversations would have been different.
Yep.
But I think for what you're getting, and if you like any FromSoft game, it's a worthy purchase.
Okay.
And worthy of putting a bunch of time into.
Okay.
You can unlock costumes for the different characters.
I can dress up.
Yeah, exactly.
Sold.
And when you beat the final boss, you unlock new costumes for the characters based on other From Software games. So we like the fan service. So that's a big aspect for me. I like the customization.
That's exciting.
Yeah. What I've also been playing, which, you know, if you were listening to the last episode, we recorded that right before the Switch 2 came out.
Yep.
And I've been playing a lot of the Switch 2.
Yep.
A lot of Mario Kart World. A lot of Deltarune.
Yep.
And I'm holding off until I beat those to continue. But there is new Donkey Kong information coming out soon. But I wanted to talk about is, you know, a big thing with the Switch 2, the biggest Debbie Downer has always been the price. You know, and you don't need us to tell you that. If you know the Switch 2 at all right now, you know that the price is an issue.
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
You know? And so I wanted to give my thoughts on if it's worth it.
Okay.
So, Micah, I've shown you the Switch 2.
Yep, I fondled it.
Yes, you fondled my Switch.
Yep.
You've played Mario Kart with me.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, from the overall hardware, I am impressed. You know,
it's better. It's an upgrade.
It's like, and you really, you know, you might see stuff online, but it's not until you have it in your hands, you're like, whoa, this thing's big.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I can fit my hands around this Joy-Con.
Yeah, the Joy-Cons feel very nice to hold.
Or it's like, oh, like the mouse thing's actually pretty cool. I hope they use that. It's the thing. Because it feels really responsive and pretty good for being like an in-controller mouse deal. Like I was like, that works way better than I thought it would. The 120 frames per second looks good.
Oh, very nice. Like when we played Mario Kart, best looking Nintendo game I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Very crispy.
On handheld, it was like crazy the difference because I loaded up Mario Kart 8 on both my Switch 1 and the Switch 2, and I was like, that's just wild. Now, there's something I'm not impressed with, and that's with, you know, the Switch 1 games, they're set up so that when you go into handheld mode, the Switch 1 screen is 720p.
Yeah.
So the Switch 2, you know, it just launches the Switch 1 game. So it's loading a 720p game and blowing it up into the 1080 resolution.
So there's pixels.
Yes. So games like Hollow Knight in handheld mode look kind of blurry.
Oh.
So there needs to be...
They need to port it. They need to port those for Switch 2.
So here's the solution for that. They need to do either the developer needs to update their game. Yeah. Which I don't think should be the solution because they're games that are never going to be touched ever again.
Yeah.
What I think should have, or the other option is, you know, they can make a Switch 2 version of the game, which, you know, you can do if you want, or make an upgrade pack if you want to follow Nintendo's example.
Yeah.
But what I think they should do is they should include an option to like keep certain games in docked mode even as handheld. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like if you're loading up Hollow Knight, you can choose the options on the game and be like output handheld in docked resolution. Yeah. You know? And it's like boom, it's 1080p.
Yeah,
you know?
because they've already designed it to run at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Or maybe not even dock, but like set your resolution or something like that.
Or just like have a setting for all the games.
So I feel like that wouldn't be that hard because it's literally just like they do a check, and I'm sure it's not an if-then sequence, but you know, it does a check to see if it's docked or not, and then it outputs differently depending. So I don't know. I feel like that could be an easy fix. I'm wondering what they'll do because it's definitely the biggest hardware issue I've seen so far. Yeah, with the Switch 2. So that's the interesting thing.
Okay, and so is it you? Do you want me to say what I think, or do you want to just say what you think?
For what specifically?
Is it worth it?
Well, how about you? Well, from what you're hearing, what do you think I'm going to say?
Well, my perspective on it is it feels like buying the 5090 on release because it's like, is it really worth it right now? It's one of those things where it's like, it will be worth it in terms of like graphics card when the price comes down for the next generation. In terms of the Switch, it will be worth it when you have a larger game library. I think the tough part is it's like you just said, a lot of the Switch 1 games are going to have resolution issues, which is a big
and there are a
turnoff.
lot of games that don't have that problem, but it's because it's like there's no general fix. You know?
I know I'd be frustrated if I got a Switch 2 and I wanted to play Hollow Knight and it looked bad.
yeah. And like, I mean, a lot of games they have updated for that to make those Switch 1 games compatible look super good, super crispy. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet literally feels like a different game when it runs properly. You know, that's a different discussion.
I mean, I guess where I'm at with it right now is it's like it's not its own thing yet. It's just a hardware upgrade.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's always how like what I've been seeing a lot online makes me think that this is like people's first console launch.
Yeah,
because you know, people are like, oh, there's only one game. I'm like, yeah, that's why they didn't release it on holiday. You know, like if you don't like Mario Kart, there's no reason to buy a Switch 2 right now.
Absolutely,
like 100%. Like unless you know specifically that's like, oh, I know I'm gonna have games that I want, which I don't think you have enough information for right now. I was hoping we would get an actual Nintendo Direct, but it's just a Donkey Kong one. But I wanted more games to be announced to make people more excited about the Switch 2. That being said, Switch 2 has like the best console launch ever. 3.5 million units in the first couple of days. It's probably going to hit 10 million by the end of the month.
It's doing Wii sales.
Yeah, it is.
Which I think there was a lot of hype around it, especially since you had a lot of people who are like, man, I should really get a Switch, but there's a Switch 2 coming, so I should really wait. And so you have all the hardware people who are like, I want an upgrade. You've got all the Nintendo people who are like, it's a new Nintendo console. And you have everyone from the last almost 2 years now who are like, something new's coming, who didn't buy a Switch 1 who are now buying it. So I think that puts a lot of, you know, pressure on the sales front. I think it'd be interesting to see if the Switch 2 is a sustained sale console like the Switch 1 was.
Yeah. That'll really depend on the first couple years of software that they have.
Like the difference is going to be, is the Switch 2 still selling in 1 year, 2 years, you know?
Yeah, what I've also been seeing a lot of online that confuses me so much is there's been, kind of an echo chamber around the Switch 2 boycott, let's say, which I mean, and now there's like the narrative of like, oh, gamers are like they don't have any spine, you know, they still bought the Switch 2 anyway. And I think if you look at any photos from a midnight release or the first day, you don't see Redditors in the line only. You see parents, you see kids, and you see grandparents. They're not going online to talk about, you know, how absurd it is that they're charging $450 for a non-OLED screen. You know,
they're just there to buy it for their kids or their grandkids.
Because it's the new Nintendo.
Because it's the new Nintendo.
It's the new Nintendo.
But that's been Nintendo's audience forever, and it's only grown.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like they're different audiences. So the people being like, oh, like, people can't boycott anything. It's like, well, you couldn't boycott this to begin with because the people who would even hear that are just not they're not the ones buying the console.
Exactly. And so that's where I'm saying if it's a sustained console seller or not. You know, like people, it'll really depend because obviously they're going to stop making a Switch 1 because they want people to buy the Switch 2.
They're going to keep making Switch 1s for at least a couple years from what I heard. And it was, Nintendo did this weird thing where there was like, you know, if the Switch 2 is too expensive for you, you can still buy a Switch 1, which, you know, I don't like that.
No, but it's not a great marketing schema.
No,
but...
it's not. So, you know, you can... I'm not saying Nintendo's like, you know, you're wrong to want to boycott Nintendo or have those feelings around that, because that's perfectly fine. In my case, I know I'm going to buy those games. And I haven't done a console launch in 8 years, and so I wanted to have a party. So I had a party. I played more Mario Kart that weekend than like I have the rest of my life combined, probably.
No, I get you.
We should talk about Mario Kart though, because the price of the Switch was not the only thing under fire. Specifically, what caused the biggest outrage was Mario Kart World at $80. And after playing it for probably, I would say 30 hours, I don't know what they were smoking to put it above 70. The new Donkey Kong game, which you can break all the terrain, you know, it doesn't look exactly easy to make, is priced at 70. The Mario Kart World, which has some merit, you know, it's fun, it's a lot of fun, it's a good Mario Kart game, but is a good Mario Kart game worth $80?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
When I played it, right, I was sitting there like, It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's fun. But I've played funner games that cost less.
Yeah.
Even funner racing games that have cost less.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I am shocked that the open world is not empty.
Yeah.
But there's a big lack of incentive to go through it. Now, to unlock mirror mode, you need to get some collectibles. But there's Peach medallions, there's question mark panels, and there's P-switch challenges, right? All of them just give you a stamp. And the stamps you can put on your cart.
Well, you can't even really see them.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's the reward for doing anything free roam. You know, and it's baffling to me. And of course, because it's Nintendo, they decided, oh, we're going to do the hard part of filling the world and making it seamless. But we're not going to have anything to kind of like push you along. Like, I thought a mini campaign would have done well.
Yeah.
Or even, hey, we have like 100 skins and character unlocks. Let's tie them to the free roam. No,
they're all in track.
They're all in they're all in track, or they're all.
What I find interesting is you had every opportunity to make a campaign mode, like anything like Need for Speed or Heat or the Crew, whatever you want, and it's like it's been done 100 times, just not by Nintendo.
Yeah, not with any IP behind it.
Yeah.
You know?
And now it's like you have an opportunity to do this. It's already there. The formula is created, and you didn't do it.
Yeah, just put some cart NPCs. You go up to them, you hit A, you get a couple text blurbs, and then you challenge them in a race, and you unlock the character.
Exactly.
And that would feel way better than doing like all this for nothing. Basically.
Exactly.
So I don't know. That thing's really weird. And I was like, this is what they decided. No, all right, hold on. I'm having too many thoughts at once.
Yeah.
This is the reason why they're charging it $80 is because of the open world.
Yep.
But
when first Mario Kart game, open world.
Yeah. When I look into it more, the reason they charged $80 for it, I believe, is because of how Nintendo does like we're not giving away value for free, and they've been working on it for almost 8 years.
It doesn't feel like an 8-year project.
No, because they've had to scrap a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, we gotta swap it over to the Nintendo Switch 2 system.
I don't like the no value for free because some of the best games out there are, value for free. I think of immediately Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Right? Content after content that's just there to support the gamers. And it sells more copies. The trouble is, I feel like Nintendo priced it at $80 so that they could say $50 add-on bundle was a good deal.
It was, and that's how I bought it.
Exactly, but it's a good deal because you don't want to pay $80 for the game.
Yeah,
I think $50 is a fine price for the game.
Yeah, I'd say $50 is a great price for that game.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think $60 would be a good price too.
I think that's why they knew it would sell at $50, right?
Yeah.
I bet you, and I know we've talked about it, more than 90% of Switch sales were probably bundled with the game.
It'd have to be.
It have to be. Because I don't know who is looking at like, oh, this game's $80, but it's only $50. If I buy it with the console, I'm going to buy anyway.
Yeah.
That doesn't have many other options anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it feels like a toxic marketing scheme.
Yeah, that's true. It is true. No, and I 100% agree. Like, before it came out, I was like, oh, they must see something really special in this game, which they did. It was how much time they spent on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the game specifically. It was just how much time they put into it.
Yeah, they're just recouping losses on a sale.
Yeah, exactly. Which is messed up. And they know Mario Kart's going to sell the most for the console because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold like 24 million copies.
Yep.
So,
well, absolutely, but of course it did.
I will say I've been enjoying how deep the game is. Though there's like a parkour system, you can jump on the walls, you can do the rails, and people like the deeper you go into the game, the more rewarding it is. There's a ton of shortcuts.
I think there's a skill ceiling to this Mario Kart game that is probably not seen in any other one.
Yeah.
And I think those are all completely fair things to point out when you talk about the pricing of a game.
Yeah.
But that being said, Rocket League was what?
Yeah.
$35?
Yeah, on release.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
/ free to play.
What I'm hoping happens, and I got some tinfoil hat theories for it.
Yeah.
But I do think there's going to be some free updates to this game.
There better be.
With content. Like, my biggest thing is that Donkey Kong and Pauline, two characters Nintendo has been absolutely pushing for.
Yep.
only have one skin.
Yeah.
Characters like Baby Daisy and Baby Rosalina have 5 or 6.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't make sense. So why would they do that? Oh, Donkey Kong and Pauline are going to be in the new Donkey Kong game.
Yeah, they're waiting for that to reveal.
So I think there's going to be new content. I'm hoping we get some new kind of island deal.
Yep.
But I'm more inclined to believe that's going to be a paid thing. But at least new skins or an $80 game with paid DLC sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
It does suck.
It's so scamuzzy right now.
Yeah. So, but I would challenge you with this.
Oh.
How much money have you spent on League? Or maybe
none.
not you. That's a bad question for you. I think the landscape we're in right now is, at least with a Nintendo game, it is still a finished game. Mario Kart World is a very finished and polished game.
I think that's fair.
And nowadays there's sell now, fix later mentality.
Yeah, and I think that, but that's getting pushed back quite a bit I mean, we look at the Mind's Eye release just recently, right? That was definitely a sell now, fix later deal.
Yeah.
That so much outrage with it. Sony, for the second time this year, is offering refunds for people who bought the game.
Yeah. Which is insane because like people are calling that the GTA killer before it came out. I never heard of it before it flopped, and I watched the trailer and I didn't even remember it. Yeah. It's just wild to me that it was a Sony publisher game.
You know what's still wild to me is IGN gave it a 4 for a broken game that was unplayable. They still gave it a 4 out of 10.
The 4 to 7 range contains a lot.
I know. It's like a game that is being 100% refunded by the publisher has a 4 out of 10 on IGN. It's like, what does it take to get below a 4 at this point?
Yeah. Don't get me talking about
publisher reviews.
Yeah. It does not make me happy.
But no, I mean, yes, it's a completed game, which is something nice to be said. I don't know that Nintendo releases unfinished games.
No, they've really never.
But I don't.
They haven't done that in like 30, 40 years.
But mind you, if we're saying that it's worth, $20 more to be guaranteed that you get a finished game, I think that's ridiculous. That's a standard.
I think so too.
But I hear you. But I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I haven't seen them price any other game at $80. I'm willing... Well, that's not true. Because there's like the upgrade pack dealios, which make me pissed off. But, it's whatever. They haven't priced any of their new games coming out at $80. The new Donkey Kong game is $70. So, again, I'm like, why is that? Well, we know why Mario Kart's $80.
Still $70, though, which...
I mean, that's where we're at, though.
I know.
If Mario Kart was $70, I don't think there'd be nearly a blowback as we've gotten.
All of this is genuinely promoting, in my mind, what is going to be the video game industry crash.
Yeah, you've talked about this.
It's such a bubble right now, man. There's so much shovelware that's priced at $60 to make decent games priced at $80 when you can find fabulous all-star games at $20 to $30 range from the indie market. AAA studios are going to crash. All of a sudden, we're going to have game creators completely out of jobs. We're going to have AAA studios completely gone, which is a lot of support funding for upgrading hardware. And then we'll just see where things go from there.
Yeah. I don't know how much that will hold. I think families will be buying Nintendo for a while.
I mean, there'll
need to be a public tarnishing of their image.
Well, there are companies that will still, thrive, and I think Nintendo will be fine. Outside of if there is a bubble collapse, they cannot sustain an $80 price point.
Yeah.
Especially when every other game on the market will then be going for $30 because all of your single AA studios is going to all of a sudden be the new price point.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox just charged The Outer Worlds 2 with that's going to be $80.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely. It's
comedy. You've played Outer Worlds. Was The Outer Worlds 1 good enough to warrant an $80 sequel?
Not an $80 sequel. I mean, I love The Outer Worlds. It's really funny to me because it's an entire commentary against aggressive forms of capitalism.
And it's $80.
It's $80 for the sequel.
The sequel is $80.
It's almost like a meme that writes itself. And so
Well, we know that. All right, the developers don't set the price.
I know,
It's always
the
publisher,
devs don't set the
which
price,
sucks in that case
because the devs are getting pushed in a spot where the publisher's like, you're going to sell it for 80 or we're not going to fund it. And the dev is like, well, we need a job.
Or it's they make the game and then they drop on them that it's going to be $80.
Yep.
It's like, oh, look at what Nintendo just priced their Mario Kart at. Hey, they gave us the green light. That's what people are thinking is going to happen. But honestly, I think $80 games have been coming for a while. Not that's good.
Yeah, I mean,
Not that's good.
I think the crazy part is, why are we raising the prices when sales are higher than ever, right? The industry is bigger than ever. It feels greedy to raise the price, and I think it's simply because of AAA bloat. Like it costs too much to make a game right now.
Yeah, it does. It's which is crazy because you have games with under 50 people coming out and having amazing soundtracks, amazing visuals, amazing gameplay, like Expedition 33. 33 people and a dog. Was the development team for that. And so a lot can be achieved. I just don't think you need a million people to do it.
Well,
or instead of having 5 or 6 big games, Nintendo maybe make a lot more teams and then have a lot more games.
Well, yeah, I'm completely on board with that idea. It's so frustrating to see a video game cost more than a blockbuster film.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason that a blockbuster film at $110 million is cheap for a AAA video game these days, right? Like, I understand paying people a fair wage, but there is no reason that a game like
Star Wars Outlaws.
There's no reason a game like Star Wars Outlaws should cost $210 million to make. That game did not look like it had been in development for 8 years. It did not look like it had a team of 300 some people behind it. All of those numbers are like, and you made this? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so what is going to be, I guess, what's going to pop the bubble then? Because, consumers keep buying.
Well, it's the same thing you look at for, like, the film industry, right? How is it Disney can keep releasing, $400 million flops and still be profitable? I mean, it's big questions.
The amusement park and the merch.
Well, exactly, right? But it's when can a company no longer take the bleeding?
Yeah. When enough people say, I'm good, I'll pass, then, like what I see is like if Nintendo starts pricing out all their games at $80, there's going to be some series, like if a new Smash comes out, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to drop $80, but I'm way less likely if like a new Pikmin game comes out, and I like Pikmin, to be like,
yeah, you can't keep pricing.
I don't know if
it's
worth $80.
Well, it's like, how is Ubisoft still a company? Like they have Skull and Bones dropped. And they already announced that servers are going to be taken down. And that game, over the course of its development, is said to have costed over $300 million with marketing and production, right?
Yeah.
That massive flop didn't sell really anything, and they're shutting servers down on what was supposed to be their flagship live service game currently. And obviously
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed
is probably their big money maker.
It sold enough where there wasn't like a bunch of red flags, but it definitely didn't make them a ton of money.
Yeah, they really need to bring back Raving Rabbids. I think that would save them. That's what they're missing.
It's just, I don't understand how you can release several multi-hundreds of million-dollar games and still be considered a AAA studio. That maybe that's a bit harsh of me. But like,
there's a lot of. I think it's fine to make mistakes.
I know, but
there's, you lose on some grace when you keep making them over and over and over and over and over again.
Right? You look at Sony post this launch has made a wonderful announcement. They are rolling back their PSN requirements for all of their PC games.
Took them long enough.
Yep. So you can now play any Sony PSN game in any country. Restrictions were lifted. The thing that they said they couldn't do because it was too difficult.
Yeah.
And then they just do it on the heels of a massive refund to try and gain players' good graces again.
We're seeing this more and more. It's like there's so much trust being lost, like over and I mean, and it's going on with Nintendo, it's going on with Sony, you know, and it's going to take a lot to rebuild that trust.
Well, exactly. Talking about trust rebuilding, we can go to a company that's trying its hardest, CD Projekt Red.
Yep.
They just released a hybrid tech demo gameplay trailer for The Witcher 4.
I know, a CD Projekt Red trailer that includes gameplay.
I know, right?
What?
It is wild. Now, albeit they didn't completely go away from the tech demo.
No, there's a lot of cutscenes.
There's a lot of cutscenes, a lot of still tech demo-y, but there was gameplay of Ciri, because you play as Ciri. So super cool. They're trying to get back in the players' good graces. They don't want to launch like
they don't want another
Cyberpunk launch.
Yeah, very reminiscent of Mind's Eye launch is the Cyberpunk one.
Benefit though is Cyberpunk pulled it back.
They did. I don't think Mind's Eye is coming back.
I don't think it is. Not with a full refund in the works.
I mean, they did full refunds for Cyberpunk too.
They did. They did.
We'll see what Sony does with the remains of it.
I bet they pull the plug. They've had too many failures.
If Concord's any indicator, it's dead. It's just gone.
I guess the difference is Mind's Eye wasn't intended to be, well, they wanted it to be a live service game, but it should also have been a complete game on release. So there is realm where they'll fix it and still launch it. I don't know. I don't think companies should get as much grace anymore.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Everyone points to like No Man's Sky or Cyberpunk, right, as launches where it's like, yeah, they pulled it back, they redeemed themselves. But you know how many games don't redeem themselves?
Well, it's because it takes a dev to like stick around, and a lot of devs don't have that opportunity.
Yeah,
you know, like if No Man's Sky developer, like, and I'm sure it was a big risk to stay on No Man's Sky, but like if he didn't have the resources or the availability to like keep, or basically I'm sure pull many overnights and get a whole full team in overhaul mode to pull that game back to where it is now, you know, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
you know, and so it takes a lot to. It's hard enough making a good game. Yeah. But it's even harder to launch a bad game and turn it good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm really impressed at now I know there have been times where I'm not super happy with it, but most of the time I'm happy with how Steam promotes new and upcoming games, which is a benefit. Because they do publisher showcases for like indie devs and stuff.
They just had Steam Next Fest.
Yep, which is super cool, super fun. I think of like Manor Lords is the perfect example where it's a one-man developer where his game became the most wishlisted game on Steam. And it is a true early access game where the players are playing it and they're like, hey, dev, we all really think your game should have this. And he goes, okay, I'll add it. You know? And he had so many people wishlist it and buy into the early access that he now has a team of like 20 people working for him. And that's
a real heartwarmer, you know?
It is. It is. The crazy part is it's not as rare anymore. Well, I shouldn't strictly say that. It happens more often now than it used to. Yeah. It's rare as a percentage because there's now millions of people making games. But it happens fairly frequently now.
Yeah. I mean, the indie takeover, that's just how it happens, you know?
And I think that is another thing where it's like creative game developers no longer really want to work for these corporate entities.
Yeah. All the Expedition 30, well, a lot of the Expedition 33 team like came from Ubisoft.
Yep, exactly.
And said like, hey, if we tried to make this at Ubisoft, it would have taken over a decade. Yep. Because that's what it is. It's the corporate bloat. We're seeing not only in the game industry, we're seeing it all over the
movies, film, TV shows,
everywhere across the world in every industry. There's the middleman bloat, you know. Yep. But with games, it's just so easy to see when you have games like, I'm even going to say Deltarune. Now, granted, it's taken many years for it to even have half of the game released. Yep. But it's like, it's really good. And it has a lot of soul in it and character. So, I don't know. It's like, eventually people will be like, I'm just going to play indie games. And people are already doing that. You know, there's already a group of people doing that. But it'll be more and more and more and more and more until eventually kids with Steam Decks or handheld PCs, which will, I'm sure, become more and more normal, are just going to not care about AAA games anymore. I mean, there's going to be a group of people who always care about the graphics, who always care about the IPs. I'm going to always care about Nintendo IPs.
But it's getting so easy to make a good looking game now.
Yeah. Unreal Engine 5 is crazy.
Yeah, and it runs fairly well if you take the time to optimize your game.
Yeah.
Which, once again, another wild thing. Why are AAA games not having an optimization division?
Yeah.
Why in the world is this AAA game running so badly?
Yeah.
You know? There's no freaking reason that I should have to run whatever on 32 gigs of RAM.
I mean,
to look
people keep
decent.
letting them get away with it, and you could say the same about me and letting Nintendo get away with the $450 console and $80 game.
What's wild to me is like, now is it going to look phenomenal? No, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will run on a 1060 still with 8 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be on the lowest settings. You don't have to go potato mode to run it.
Yeah.
Like if you're comfortable with 60 frames, that 50 to 60 frame mark, you can still run that game smoothly at that frame rate on a 1060.
Insane. Insane.
It just takes developers who care.
Yeah.
And they don't exist. I'm getting too passionate about it.
They don't exist.
They don't exist in the AAA sphere.
They do, but they're being like suppressed.
Sorry. There isn't a publisher who cares right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are people inside the publisher who cares. But it's about, it can be 80 games. It's the new COD.
Yeah.
It's like we don't need to spend money and resources on optimizing it, and we got to launch this next year. We can't do that.
Yeah.
It's timelines, it's budgets, and it's also, I think, a lot of it is the bigger the game, the less likely you are to have other games, which means you're playing more.
Yep.
Especially with live service games.
I am optimistic about the next Battlefield game. They took a note out of the failure that was 2042, and they are taking multiple years to develop a game that gamers want. At least that's their official narrative.
Unlike Black Ops 7. I can't believe we're already on another Black Ops game.
I saw the trailers for it.
It doesn't look like a COD trailer. Oh my gosh.
I thought and you said it too. I watched it and I'm like, is this a new Alan Wake game? Like, what is this?
We haven't mentioned, but both like the Summer Game Fest and Xbox Showcase. The biggest things I got from it was getting Blue Balls by Silk Song. It was like
it's coming out
before holiday.
Before holiday
of 2025.
That means,
according to the Team Cherry marketing guy
and Nintendo.
And
Nintendo, it was on the store page.
Yeah. But Xbox has said stuff before, so unless it's from Team Cherry
but Nintendo
itself,
also said
unless it's from Team Cherry, it's not worth believing.
Nintendo also said it.
Team Cherry is the only one that I can trust, and even then, I'm like, "Are you joking with me now?" After that Deadpool stunt,
before
holiday is what they say. It is what they say.
That's anytime between now and December 24th.
Yeah. So all right. So here's my question.
Unless it's Thanksgiving holiday. I don't know what holiday they're talking about. It could be Juneteenth.
It's end of December is holiday. That's holiday season.
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
You could say from Thanksgiving to Christmas is holiday season, but December is holiday season.
So October 31st is Halloween. That's a holiday.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It could be any one of these holidays.
Sure. I mean, there's 4th of July coming.
Yeah,
that's
4th of July.
Holiday season.
Is Team Cherry American?
No.
I don't think so.
No, they're not. They're not. So let's ask this question. Then this might be a bit harder to go through, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about all the time that AAA games take forever to make, but why do indie game sequels take so long as well?
I don't know why a sequel always takes so long.
Because I was thinking from Undertale to Deltarune. Undertale was 2014, 15.
Yep.
Chapter 1 of that, there's going to be 7 chapters apparently. Chapter 1 is 2019. Chapter 2 is 21.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 and 4, 25. And that's half the game.
Well, I think I'm sure someone out there knows why, but I think a lot of it is these people just, it's not their full-time thing, you know?
When it's a sequel, it is.
That's fair, especially to a game that's sold really well.
Even like games like Rivals of Ether, from Rivals to Ether to Rivals of Ether 2. My opinion is that solo devs don't necessarily make the best team leaders. And that's all right. Here, I should say it's not a guarantee that they'll be a great leader. So there's probably a lot more development hell that happens from understanding how to manage a process instead of doing the whole thing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a completely fair thing.
Yep, 100%. Well, I also think for a lot of these solo devs, they're like, I just worked, you know, however many hours straight to get this done. I need to pace myself or I will burn myself out making a sequel. And then maybe it's a management thing or whatever else.
Yeah, but they have a team. Like, it shouldn't be taking this long.
Yeah, for Silk Song, they have a team. I don't know.
I don't care how much of a perfectionist you are. Why is it taking this long?
If it is the perfect game when it comes out, I think all will be forgiven.
I mean, people, you know, people
takes
forget.
time.
People forget pretty easily.
Yeah. It's like the second you are holding it, it doesn't matter how long it took anymore.
Well, maybe like a month after you hold it.
It's like when a mother gives birth. You know, you went through all the pain, all the suffering to get there, and it's just gone.
And I forget about my Silk Song pregnancy. Even though it just won't come out. It just won't come out, and I try to force it, and other people tell me it's coming, and it's not. And I just gotta stay pregnant.
I know, and then it comes out, and you're gonna forget about it. It's okay.
Do you have a score prediction for Silk Song?
10 out of 10. It has to be. I can't say it's not. Waited too long. It's a 10 out of 10 game.
See, what if it's not, though? I'm not gonna say it's bad.
If it's anything, if it's below an 8, I'm gonna have a problem.
Mm-hmm. With who?
Team Cherry.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't make us wait that long for a game that's below an 8.
I mean, both of us don't believe that it will be below an 8.
No, I think it'll be a 10 out of 10. IGN's gonna give it a 9.7 because they can't give a 10 to an indie game.
What if it's like not a 10, but people give it a 10 because it's like Silk Song? You know, it's like this mythical creature.
I think that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, whatever. You know, I don't care.
No.
At this point, as long if it's on par with Hollow Knight, it should be a 10. I think Hollow Knight's a solid 10.
You know, I'm with you.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Hollow Knight. I think there are parts of the game that some people don't like, but other people love.
So Hollow Knight on launch versus Hollow Knight now is very different.
I didn't play Hollow Knight on launch,
Me
so
neither.
I don't know. I played Hollow Knight in its finished state.
I watched a video about it.
Yeah,
Hollow Knight on launch, probably an 8. Hollow Knight now, a 10.
I think Hollow Knight right now is a very 10 out of 10 game.
And you should play it.
You should.
You know what else you should play?
What?
The pitch of the week I'm about to give you.
Oh, do we have a jingle? Should we?
The pitch of the week.
We'll do something with that. Maybe.
We'll turn that into something. I apologize if nothing happened from that. But anyway, pitch of the week. All right, Micah did last week's new segment. It's hard to choose games. There's so much. Your backlog is all over the place. It's like new consoles, new games. You know, $80. I don't want to spend it on that. You know what you should spend it on? Katamari, Damacy, or Katamari.
Yeah.
Or Reroll.
Reroll,
which is the remake.
My wife has been playing Reroll a lot.
Or We Love Katamari plus Royal Reverie, which is a remake of the second Katamari game. The Katamari series is peak.
What is Katamari, Cade?
Katamari is a game's game. You know, like, you know, all these we've talked about movie games, but like, there's no cutscenes. There is dialogue, but the dialogue is like as crazy as you can make it. There's so much character, so much charm. It's very Japanese, and I don't mean that in the anime way, and I don't mean that in like the Nippon desu way. You know, I don't know if that means anything to you, but it meant something to me. Okay. But it's very like dry and crazy. Like, the whole point is your ball.
Yep.
And when you roll up stuff, you get bigger. Yep. Because the ball is getting bigger. Yep. You're rolling up this Katamari.
You've probably seen hundreds of mobile games that have tried to copy this feeling.
And no one can do it. And no one can do it. Katamari is like, it's got the vibe down to a T. Yep. It's like, you know, you got these little blockmen. I shouldn't say blockmen. It's its own style. Yeah. But you roll up the blockmen, and they run away, and you roll them over like the monster you are, and it feels good. Yep. There's like missions where you try to get your Katamari as big as you can make it. Or there's one where you're like, oh, only get cows, but not the brown one. As soon as you roll up the brown one, the level's over. You know? Or it's like, keep your Katamari on fire by getting lights. You know? So there's a lot of different challenges. Yeah. And it's super fun. It's super chill. It's probably the best game to play while intoxicated. That'd be my opinion. Though there is LSD Simulator on PlayStation 1. I'm not going to try to compete with that right now. But Katamari is like, the music is, you know, if it's going to sound weird at first, give it a couple levels. Yeah. It's gonna be the vibe. Yep. You're gonna roll stuff up. You're gonna be super chill. I went through and got all the achievements on both games. Wow. Because I'm like, this is a good game.
You got to talk to your God King Daddy.
Yeah. I mean, if you care about the story, there's not much. You're like the Prince of all Cosmos, and there's the King of all Cosmos who like looks crazy, and he has a big bulge and a giant like fluffy like pompadour thing, not pompadour, but like very old English thing going on, you know. And he's wild, and the dialogue is very nonsensical but funny if you read it, and it's just like, but who cares? It's you roll stuff up and you get big. It could, you know, that concept sounds like a mobile game. But the amount of polish and the overall like experience is like beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful time.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else you could compare it to.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Goose Simulator.
I mean, if that's a game, you know, I'll give it up. Like it's very weird. It's wacky. Yeah, and you know, you have like your missions and you vibe. Though, like Katamari, there's a bit of stress because you know you got time limits, you got missions, and there is an end to the game, unfortunately. But I'm hoping they make more. But really, they'll probably just keep remaking the old games. Which I'm
why
fine
not?
with.
They're perfect.
I mean, the soundtracks throughout the series get like bigger and bigger. So like the first one's pretty chill. They got a couple different genres, and they're like a couple different Japanese genres. Yep. We Love Katamari is a bit more like high energy, and then Katamari Forever is suddenly like big band jazz fusion remakes of like all the other songs. That I love. That's probably my favorite soundtrack. But Katamari is a crazy game, and you should play it. Have you? It seems like you've seen it.
Watched it be played.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a good experience too.
It's a great experience.
Yeah. It's a game like if someone was in my living room playing it, I'd stay and watch.
Yeah, it is enjoyable.
And that's from someone who hasn't even played it. Yeah. So if that doesn't convince you, I don't know what will.
I'm sold. I'm convinced.
Now, a pitch of the week that I have not watched and you have not watched, and it's not a pitch of the week. Yeah. But it's a recommendation we have received from other people. Is the new How to Train Your Dragon movie. Yeah. It's a remake.
It is.
That did well.
Supposedly.
Yeah, I don't know.
It looks, I mean, from everything I've seen from the trailer, it is just one-for-one shots from the animated film.
Yeah, I've had friends who have gone and seen it and said it was just the original movie in live action. Which I shouldn't put the just there. Yeah. The just should not be there. It should be, it was the original movie in live action. Yeah. Because you know what the movie is? A live action remake. Yeah. There might be some other movies claiming to be live action remakes, and that's an evil jip. It is a disguise. And when you reveal the cloak, it is actually a director's power fantasy concealed by an IP.
Disney.
Yeah. So
Rings of Power.
Snow White.
No, that's Disney.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. I got another.
Witcher?
I got another.
Witcher?
The Witcher.
Witcher later seasons.
What else? Wheel of Time.
So there might be a couple examples of directors not doing this. And from what I hear, the only discrepancy in the movie is that Astrid isn't blonde.
Major bad. You can't go see it because Astrid isn't blonde. That's like a key character feature.
Yeah. So from what I hear, this sounds like a good movie. Yeah. Because the original was really good.
I loved the original.
And they're remaking the original live action. Which I do think there is now. If you're like, why would I go see it if it's just How to Train Your Dragon again? It's like I think that acting and performance is way different in an animation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus live action.
Absolutely.
And so I'm interested to see how they tried to replicate that in their performances. Now, you might not be interested.
I did hear something really tragic, though, with this, is that they only signed all the actors for one movie because they didn't know how it was going to perform.
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
Exactly. You have to with all the flops that have been happening. And so that's big disappointment because I saw Gerard Butler was like, hey, he was trying to tell everyone else that, hey, the movie's doing really good. We should really keep our schedules open for a second. But time will only tell if the studio's going to green light it. They got to do it quick if they want to keep the actors on board.
They do. I mean, because obviously people love the first one the most. The second one is really good.
I love the entire trilogy.
Yeah, I don't remember the third one as much.
It's the one with the
white one, the white dragon, right?
The white dragon.
Yes.
The light fury.
Yes.
And the ending is really cute and sad.
Yeah.
Because all the dragons go bye-bye.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Sorry
for the
How
young...
to Train Your Dragon 3 that came out like 8-9 years ago.
I remember the first time I watched that movie, I was on a camping trip to Yellowstone.
I was in the theaters. That one was a good movie for theaters. The sound effects were great.
Dude, I want
to hear the sound design for the remake.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear. I want to see the explosions.
I'm super excited. I'm totally blanking on... Oh!
I'm sorry. He gave me a romantic look. I had to...
Dune 3! News!
I had to double take. Sorry.
That movie is so far further out than we could have ever thought.
Yeah, Dune Messiah.
They just casted the twins.
Oh!
They just casted them.
Oh!
By the way, I think they picked good people.
Sure,
They look very alike.
Sure.
It's someone Momoa and someone. I honestly don't know their name.
They got the same name.
I have never seen these actors before, but I've seen a picture of them and they do look like twins, even though they're totally not. It's just so wild to me that they just casted the twins.
Yeah, I've seen concept art. Wait, have we not have a poster image for a long time?
Yeah.
Since Dune 2 came out, it's like him with the blindfold on and all that. All right, by the way, honestly, if they stopped making it at Dune 2, all right, here's the Dune Messiah is such a messy book.
No, the overarching plot is still great. You just got to trim the fat.
No.
Just
but what
trim
they
the fat.
did. But do you remember what they did with Dune 1 and 2?
Yeah.
So now going into Dune Messiah.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll make some changes, obviously.
They're just going to, I think this is my...
They're going to change the ending. I just know. They're just going to change the ending.
No. Go with God Emperor Worm. I don't... Go for it. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
If you haven't watched or read the book, this doesn't mean anything to you anyway. So I'm not going to say spoilers.
I want giant, eternal, 1,000-year worm god. Please.
Because I felt like they should have kind of done it like the Harry Potter series and just like locked it in and been like, all right, we're gonna, after Dune 1 success, they should have done Dune 2, then immediately start with Messiah.
I know the director is a bit of a perfectionist, and so there's a full chance that he just wants Timothée Chalamet to get older. I think it totally could be true.
Sure.
I think they could just want him to be older because he's supposed to have 2 kids and they're supposed to be older. And I think my mind is flawed because I've read all the books between Messiah that Frank Herbert's son wrote.
Yeah.
So the books go from book 2 to book 3, which skips
a lot.
Most of the Galactic War.
Yeah.
Which was filled in. There's a lot of intrigue. It's like Game of Thrones on crack.
If you're expecting going in the Dune Messiah that you're getting an epic war thing.
No, you're seeing the aftermath. You're getting the politics of consolidation.
Yeah. So sorry. Maybe that was a bit spoilers.
Yeah.
But, we're setting you up. We're not trying to disappoint you.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
That's the reason why Dune 2 ended the same way that Shogun ended, with like a narration on what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna go wage war.
Yeah.
And they do that.
They will wage the war.
They wage the war.
Trust me. Do you think that they do the books not written by Frank Herbert?
No, not if they're jumping into Messiah. I don't think.
Well, after Messiah.
It'd be funny if they didn't. Just leave it right there and everyone's like, what?
Yeah. Well, because when we go past that, it gets even crazier.
I think it's such a good type of crazy, though, where if you ground it just enough.
Yeah, but it's like written versus the movie. I don't know.
Well, I think there's a good appetite for it by the fact that people took it seriously, that not Feyd-Rautha, his father or uncle, I guess, came out of a tub of black goo, massive fat man floating on, and people took that completely seriously because he's such a good actor, because it was framed perfectly, where you can take the ridiculousness of a giant floating fat man and make him scary. You can do the same thing with a giant god worm who can see into the future.
I mean, I guess I'm just not confident
the
enough.
books after Messiah are really good because it is a really funny turnaround on, like, it's been 1,000 years and now you have a spice crazed god worm that essentially needs to be killed. And he knows it, but he also doesn't want to die. Yeah, which is kind of a really fun dichotomy, and a lot of intrigue. Well,
there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in that book.
Yes,
is the thing. Is like I'm not really talking even about the endings. I'm just thinking about certain events in the books. Where I'm just like that would be.
What are you talking about in particular? Go for it. Spoil it.
No. I'll be fine. Just some plot twists about like people, hanging out or some characters that may or may not come back or show up at random times need the book context, and you won't get it from the film.
That is
my thing.
That's fair. Like it's portrayed as like an Antichrist character because obviously I'm totally blanking on the main character's name.
From which book?
Lisan al-Gaib.
Oh, Paul Atreides.
Paul Atreides. Yeah. That's so bad. Blanking on that. Paul Atreides, anti-clone whatever assassin that's meant to be like the chosen one, but genetically modified. It's
good luck making sense of this if you have no idea what Dune is.
Many wild twists and turns, and I think the books that his son wrote were very appreciated. Yeah. Because it explains a lot of why are we here?
Yeah. It was like we got off of Frank Herbert's Fever Dream, and then the guy came and was like, I found his dream journal.
Yep, I found the dream journal. I made sense of it, and so I wrote some more books.
Yeah. It is interesting.
Made a 3-book series into a 16-book series, but
Yeah. How much of that is milking?
I haven't read all of it. I've just read up to Messiah, so I haven't read the books after it.
Okay.
But I know the prequel books are looked upon fondly, which is like setting up, which the Dune TV show is based on the prequel book, and I didn't watch that.
Oh, that's correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the prequel books are about like man against robots, right?
Yeah, and essentially. It's about the Bene Gesserit sort of setting up the... It supposedly was really, really good.
Yeah, because the whole Dune universe is like, there's like, oh, it's so sci-fi. Where are all the robots? Is like, oh, there can't be robots because of this big war that happened. Yep. And that's what happened before. And then the Dune movies happened. And then there's all the stuff after. And then it's just what is going on.
Yeah, it's the classic AI calamity, but Frank Herbert wrote it before AI calamity was even like a thought of.
It was like 50s, right?
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Just remember, Star Wars took inspiration from Dune.
Yeah.
Tatooine is Dune.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Without the spice. Like the Marauders on Tatooine are just the Fremen.
Insane.
Even in how they're dressed, it's just the same. Which, wild, by the way.
Hey, Lucas didn't need to worry about IP infringement.
Honestly, I feel like Lucas just... What was Lucas's original thought? What did
Luke Skywalker.
George Lucas? Luke Skywalker?
So names aren't original anymore? Is that what you're saying?
I think he just named the main character after himself.
Yeah.
By the way, we could discuss this later, but I don't think George Lucas really had a vision.
For Star Wars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I think he just did one. He just did A New Hope, and I think he was leaving it at that for the most part, and then it got big, and then with a lot of stuff that happens.
Well, they talked about he talked about he didn't know that Luke and Leia weren't going to be siblings.
Yeah.
Weren't that he didn't know they were siblings
until
he wrote the last one, because he thought it would be cool that there would be a twist that Darth Vader was Luke's father. Mm-hmm. And he said because he thought that was a cool twist,
you got to retcon it all.
You got to retcon it, even though they kissed.
It worked out.
It did work out. It worked out.
And then we get
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a big tangent about Dune in Star Wars. I apologize, because Dune is one of those franchises that's so crazy that you can't half talk about it without sounding like a homeless crazy person.
I know, right?
It's just like the worm, the bees, and the worms and the colors and the spice. Anyway, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this BroadBoys episode. We've appreciated you guys. So, episode 35.
Is it really?
35, yeah.
Wild.
Insane. Be sure to watch this episode, which you have. And if you liked it, go to the other ones too. And leave a comment.
There's a whole playlist.
And a thumbs up.
Don't forget to like, comment, favorite, subscribe.
Go to our Spotify.
Hit the bell. Yeah. Follow us on Spotify on
BroadBoys Podcast.
Yep.
Something like that.
You could even donate.
How subtle.
Shameless plug.
How subtle are these? Where can you donate?
There's a link in our description that goes to a website that we have. There's a donate button.
That's lovely. That's awesome. I didn't even know that.
Honestly, there's not much effort put into it, but
it's okay.
It exists.
Hey, we'll do something special if people donate. They'll go straight to the podcast. I assure you.
For every dollar donated, there will be a new thought.
We've been doing it for free?
We have been doing it for free.
What?
I know, right?
Crazy. See ya.
Bye.